A very good morning to all. Today we have Dr. Chandra Prakash from NIT Delhi to deliver the third seminar of this series. Welcome, Dr. Chandra Prakash, and I hand over the this session to Poonam to introduce Dr. Chandra Prakash. Poonam.
Thank you so much, sir. Uh, I, Poonam Devi, chairperson of IEEE Student Branch, MNIT Jaipur, welcome you all to join this journey research seminar series, which is organized by TechCube Third and IEEE Student Branch, MNIT Jaipur, in association with Rajasthan subsection to share the exciting research at MNIT Jaipur. This is the third seminar over the topic Deep Reinforcement Learning, Learning in a Human Way. Dr. Chandra Prakash is currently working as Assistant Professor in National Institute of Technology, Delhi. Dr. Chandra Prakash is 2010 alumni of Indian Institute of Information Technology and Management, Gwalior. From there, he pursued BTech and MTech in Information Technology. Dr. Chandra Prakash received the PhD degree in Machine Learning from MNIT Jaipur in 2018. Prior to NIT Delhi, he served in Department of Information Technology, Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University, New Delhi. Dr. Prakash has teaching and research experience of over 10 years. His areas of interest are artificial intelligence, machine learning, reinforcement learning, motion analysis, gait analysis in healthcare, biometrics, gait and face recognition, and natural language processing. Dr. Prakash has one patent and authored more than 34 publications in refereed journals, book chapters, and conferences. He is a recipient of 5 best paper at different international conferences, and he is a recipient of scholarship as JRF in DST funded project, the Lord of the Code scholarship from Red Hat and the Indian Institute of Technology. Now, I request uh, Dr. Chandra Prakash to deliver his talk. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Poonam, for the introduction. So let me first share my screen. Is it visible?
Not
No, sir, it's not visible actually. Now it's visible.
just it's coming. Uh-huh.
Visible now?
Yes, sir. Yes,
No,
sir. It's visible. You can continue.
it's not
Okay.
visible to us. I think.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes,
You are
you are
audible,
audible.
but I can't see your screen.
Screen is visible. I think you can log out and log back in. Mr. Chandresh.
You can pin to the
Yes,
another screen.
yes, Dr. Prakash, you can continue.
Okay. So good morning, all. Today we will talk about the deep reinforcement learning, the learning in the human way. As you can see this figure, in this we are trying to mimic the walking pattern of human in robots. So in this particular talk, I will talk about that how we can make a bot intelligent system intelligent using the reinforcement learning. Right. So this reinforcement learning is a part of machine learning. By now, all of you may be aware about the artificial intelligence, that it's a bigger umbrella under which this machine learning and deep learning is part of. Similarly, reinforcement learning is also one of the type of machine learning. Right. So just to give an introduction, machine learning is the way of making our system intelligent, system or a bot, so that it learn, it predict, and with time it can update its weight and improve. Right. So, can you recognize these figures? Anyone from the audience? You can type in the chat. I can see from there what these picture represent. Picture 1 and picture 2.
देखना भी नहीं है
It's Lord Ganesha and this, I think, Parliament.
Yes.
Right?
So it's Lord Ganesha. Today is Ganesh Chaturthi. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all. And the second is the Parliament House. Right. We recognize this because in the past we have encountered with the these images. So somewhere we have this experience. The mathematical model of this experience is an open area for the research. If I asked about the first image, can you tell me specifically uh, this is an image or a sculpture? Right. So this is a maybe kind of situation. And if I want to know more about this particular sculpture, let's say it's a sculpture of uh, Lal Bagh Ka Badshah, Lal Badshah Ka Bagh. So we need to see that if we can recognize or we can learn, we know what these images are, so how we recognize it. So the learning is constructing or modifying the representation of what is being experienced. Or if I talk with respect to a programmer, it's a matrix, and this experience, by the experience, we try to fill the values of a particular cell in our experience matrix table. Right. So I used to take this example that my daughter, she confused in the baya hath and daya hath. She recognized that in English, but in Hindi. So how she learned? She tried to make this type of structure with hand. If it's a B toward the face, then it's baya. If it is D, then it's daya. So what she tried to do, she tried to formulate a function. If I convert this in the mathematical model, then we as a human try to convert our experience into a mathematical function f such that whenever a particular uh, situation occurred in front of us, we try to map it with a given function. Right. So based on continuing this particular model, based on the feedback, we can divide the machine learning into supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. This supervised is the task driven, unsupervised is the data driven, and reinforcement is the reward driven, you can say, or it's a self learning. We will talk what this reward actually means. So as I told you that we try to, if I am having an image, then we try to map a function for the apple, tomato, cow from this training set, and then we try to see if we are getting the desired output or not. Right. The another example of the supervised learning is the how we learn. Right. In this or study time. So if I secure some good place for second, third, then my parents, my teachers, they give me some rewards. If I fail or I do some mischief work, then I may get some negative reward as well. So based on the feedback from the environment, from the teacher or supervisor, if I adjust my weight, then I can say that I learn. So the example of the supervised learning, continuing to that only, let's say I'm having the I am having the example of the car and bicycle with me, and then I try to map this with my function model, and based on a new test subject, I try to identify whether it belongs to car or motorcycle. There are different type of the learning: linear regression, logistic regression, Navis Bayes neural network, decision tree, SVM. But in real time, either our data is not available in the desired format as we need, or if it is available, then it is not structured. So the question is how to proceed. So the one way is we try to identify the hidden pattern within the given structure or given the data set, and based on that we try to formulate some model. So what we can do with this type of the data is that we can divide this either based on the shape or based on the color. So this type of the learning is kind of clustering approach or unsupervised learning, because there is no supervisor over here who tells about the correctness or the good or bad, you can say. So automatically what you have to do is you have to go through this data and try to find the inherent structure or inherent pattern that lies within the given data set. So if I am having this data set, then based on some internal structure, I divide it into two groups, group A and group B. Now, I cannot tell that this group A will always be car and group B will always be motorcycle. So in these cases, we need to take the help of an expert. Maybe possible when I run this program again or my code again, then next time this group A may be motorcycle and group B become your car. So the expert help us to identify based on the output that this group belongs to which particular label. So this is also applicable for the healthcare problems. The third one is the reinforcement learning, which we will talk about today. So we are having some random images from the internet, and then based on our own experience, our own problem set, let's say my problem set is to identify this car. So based on the given data set, because there is no car over here in the data set or in the taken images, so there is no past experience. So randomly I assign some rewards or some points to the images. For example, the motorcycle I have assigned as 40, and the car I have assigned as the 80. Now, depending on my objective, these rewards may vary. If you want to assign 100, then again it's okay. If you assign 10, it's okay again. But with the iteration, it automatically adjusts the weights, how we will discuss. Right, so with the help of the uh, computational power and the large amount of the data available nowadays, we have different algorithms nowadays that can solve some real-time problems. So deep learning is used for that. And if I talk specifically with respect to the vision-based problems, So, as per our survey, human identification or human understanding of the vision-based problem is around 5% error, is with 5% error. But with the deep learning, we have achieved the error, we have reduced the error till 2.3. So it's a huge, it's a better system even human. So what we try to do now using this deep learning, we try to convert our knowledge using the reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is a framework for learning to solve the sequential decision making process. So as I told you, there is nobody who tells you it is good or bad, it is correct or not. So based on the trial and error with the word environment, the agent gets some reward and it learns. These are the some traditional reinforcement learning examples. Mainly this reinforcement learning was introduced somewhere in 1990s, and it was first used for solving the games problem. But with the introduction of the deep learning in it, it become deep learning, and it is now able to solve some real-time problems. The popularity of the deep learning was because of the AlphaGo, because this was Go is a game, and it is considered as one of the hardest problem game exists in the human history. So our this deep learning based system AlphaGo was able to uh, win this game. There was a match between the human player and the computer system bot player, and it was able to win. So because of that, the researcher they realized the importance of the deep reinforcement learning. It beside the games, now it is being used in the deep traffic as well as in the neuromusculoskeletal environment. Right, so deep learning is basically provides you the representation way. Supervised learning tells us that how to learn through the example, by the reinforcement learning teach us or teach by the experience. In the supervised learning, it learned from the patterns, while in the reinforcement learning, it learned from the word by exploring it. So the deep reinforcement learning or reinforcement learning in general is a way of programming agent by reward and punishment. So based on those rewards, it try to identify how good that system is. So this reinforcement learning is very close to the human learning. As we walk, so there is no logic for it, or you can say no algorithm exists as such. The possible solution may be that in the 230 million years of experience of bipedal movement, maybe we have developed some automatic system within ourselves so that we try to learn, or we observe the other human learning walking, and based on that we try to imitate that learning. As I told you, it's a very close to human learning, and based on the rewards, and our aim is to act in order to maximize our numerical reward. The as I in the starting I told you that the reinforcement learning is nothing but it's a matrix with that fill the values with the experience, right? So I take this example that how we learn to ride a bicycle. One way is either somebody is there, some our parents or our friend or brother who actually help us in riding this bicycle, then it is form of supervised learning. If there is nobody and if we learn ourselves, then it is an example of supervised learning. So how we learn, let's see. So what I did first, I decide a particular because the randomness is there. So first I take a left node, left side, and I tilt at 60-degree angle. Then I fell down. Then I realized that maybe this angle is wrong. So I changed the angle to now 80 degree, let's say, or 70 degree, 40 degree. Again, I fall. So I conclude that okay, maybe possible that this side is wrong. So let's change the side. So I start with the right side now, and again I play with the different angles, and I fall down. So with the experience, I realized that if the angle is 90-degree, then I can ride my bicycle without falling. So in this way, what we try to do as a human, we make a experience matrix. So how that experience matrix is that we are having some states with us and we are having some possible actions. So when I move from one state to another state, then I can say that I actually assign some rewards over here, and based on that I can identify how good or bad that particular action is. So if I take from left to left, then let's say it's 2. If I take a move from left to right, it's 4. If I move from left to straight, it's 8. It's the first episode of learning, so this may be abstract in nature, but with the learning, with the experience, if I keep on performing this time again and again, then this, after certain iterations, this experience matrix saturate it. There will be no updation in the weights after that. So we can say now I am expert in that particular field, right? So this is how we learn also. As a human also, I always uh, put this emphasis that we throughout our life, we also try to make a matrix similar to this only. Whenever we encountered with a new state, we add a new row or a column over here, and then we add the corresponding value or corresponding weight to it. So how can we learn from the data is still a open question. So with the help of the environment, or with the help of the various sensors, for example, if I want to build a driverless car, then the sensor are your GPS, camera, IMU, microphone, etc. So based on these, I try to sense the environment. And from the environment, using the different feature extraction method, for example, deep learning, because deep learning is one way of representing the features nowadays. So with the help of the deep learning, we try to represent the data. And using the different machine learning approaches, whether it is CNN, RNN, LSTM, or deep reinforcement learning, we try to gather the knowledge. So it may be from one-to-one mapping, one to many, many to one, many to many, or many to one. So based on the finding from the machine learning, this knowledge, let's say this, we can use the different approaches for it, and we can recognize these images. Image recognition may be the problem. So it says that it looked like a duck. Audio recognition may be there, that the duck, the sound is like quack quack. or if a video is there, then we can identify the activity, and we can also give a reason for that. So far, we using the machine learning or deep learning, we are able to perform all these activities. But if we need to implement that in a real-time system or in a bot or a robot, then we need to plan an action, take the action accordingly. So the scope of the deep learning is up to the knowledge, while the deep reinforcement learning help us to build a real-time system, robot, humanoids. Right, so reinforcement learning interact with the in reinforcement learning at each step our agent or bot execute some action, and it interact with the environment, and based on that it changes its state, and by doing so the environment gives some rewards. Now the question is, how, what should be the value of this reward, and what type of the environment we can work with the reinforcement learning. So this reinforcement learning, in that we have different elements. Agent is our intelligent program or bot. It interacts with the environment. It may be the external condition, known or unknown condition. If I know the arena, then I say that it's a known environment. If it is a situation where I put my bot in an unknown arena or a situation, an unknown place, and automatically try to identify its path, then we can call it as a unstructured environment. So based on some policy, the agent takes some action. So policy help in mapping from state to action. It may be a simple lookup table, as we discussed in the case of the learning of the bicycle, or it may be a complex function or simple function. Based on that policy, it takes some rewards that may be positive or negative, and based on it, it update its value function. This value function is a long run goodness of a particular action. If I want to move from step A to step 5, step 1 to step 5, and there are in between 2, 3, 4 states. So if I choose state 1 to state 3, then I need to see how that state 3 is good in long term. If I can move from state 3 to state 5 directly, or if there is some obstacle over there, if so, then I should take or I should backtrack. This will be more clear when we will take one example, and then based on this we try to model the environment. So this environment may be your fully observable or partially observable, single agent or multi-agent based system, deterministic or stochastic, static, dynamic, discrete, and continuous. In case of stochastic deep learning, deep traffic, let's say, because we don't know that which other system or what is the path or what is the condition of that road. While in case of the cartpool example, it's deterministic in nature. So the challenges in the reinforcement learning is that either we don't have the environment condition with us or real world observation with us, so we go with trial and error, or second is we try to make some simulations similar to the real world, and then we try to improve our transfer learning. Let's say when we want to send uh, Chandrayaan to the moon or Mars, then we are not aware of all the conditions of the moon So what we try to do, we try to simulate similar environment uh, as precisely as possible by with our knowledge, past knowledge, at the earth only, so that we uh, our system can improve, or our system can learn from that particular environment with the different episodes of learning. And then when it actually is at the moon surface, it try to take intelligent decision. So we will see how these we can overcome these challenges. So as I told you that in reinforcement learning agent, the policy, value function and model, they play a very important role, because based on this state S0 or based on the action, if I take an action, it helped me to move from state 0 to state 1, and it give me some reward R1 if I take action A0. Then again from S1 to S2, and like that. And at the end, I need to reach this Sn, that is my terminal state. So let's see how we can take this decision. So for that, we have considered one example of a robot in a room, and this is a 4 by 3 matrix. Uh, in that we have some constraint, this +1 and -1. -1 is a constraint that if I my robot move at this particular -1 cell, then the reward is -1 at here. Some punishment is there. Or if it is reaches as +1, it's the goal, and I cannot enter into this particular cell. So let's say my reward is -0.04, because the reward is -0.4. It means it's a negative reward. So each step have some cost now. So what we want, our planning or our strategy will be to achieve the maximum reward. So in this case, we can learn the model and plan. We can learn the value, action state value, pair and act on the greedy or non-greedy based policy. We can learn this policy directly while sampling from it. So as I have to, each particular cell has some negative reward. So my policy will be to find the shortest path. If the reward is -0.04 for each step, so in this case, shortest path along with the avoid up, because by it may be possible that by going up, I may encounter with this -1 and around square -1, right? So this is the policy. Again, the policy may change. If the reward is -2, then I can go with the shortest path. I need not to take care of -1 now. If again I change the reward to -1 or -0.04, then the policy may be urgent or less urgent, right? If the policy is plus instead of minus, it's plus 0.01. So because my policy or my overall goal is to gather the maximum reward, so my policy will be to follow the longest path now. Right. So what we can say, what we learn from this small example, that this environment model has a big impact on the optimal policy. What kind of the environment my agent is interacting with, according to that, I have to change my policy. Another is, beside environment, reward structure also play an important role on selecting the optimal policy. Right. So as a programmer, we always have more control over the reward structure. So this reward, what we can do, we can go in two ways. We can explore or we can exploit. So there's a saying that two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. It means I explored. So based on this exploration and exploitation concept, I means my intelligent bot may take intelligent action. Right. So in the beginning, I don't know anything about the environment. So we need to explore all the possible options. So mathematically or in the reinforcement learning environment, it is known as the epsilon greedy policy. Each one is in a while with a small probability epsilon, we may take a small random action as well. The another type of the policy is epsilon greedy, where instead of epsilon, we 1 minus epsilon probability, we go with the exploration part. And in real time, what we do, we try to move slowly toward the greedy policy. In the starting, we explore, then with experience, we know that this is the best way. We try to be greedy in the policy. The limitation of this epsilon greedy and epsilon soft is that all the actions chosen over here are considered as uniform. So we can associate some weights with it. It is known as softmax. And in softmax, we can use the concept of the Gibbs or Boltzmann action selection. Right, so based on a particular policy, we try to identify the uh, goal and rewards. So the agent learn a policy and the objective is to get a much award as possible over a long run. Right, so what we try to do, my bot try to gather the future rewards, and in that we have added the discount future rate as well. Right, so this future reward is basically means if I am at the state 1 only, and from state 1 I am trying to identify all the future rewards. If I go to the state 3, then state 4, then state 5, then how good that particular path is. So we choose this discount reward so that we can deal with the uncertainty in the environment or the partial knowledge that we have. So Steve Jobs also says that if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? So it means I act greedy. So based on these policies, action and value functions, we try to update our uh, rewards. The expression, we know that our error is basically the target minus the actual value. So that using that concept, only using the Bellman-Ford algorithm, we try to update the new weight. So we can take the help of this value function. Value function is of with respect to the state and with respect to the action, how good that action is with respect to a particular policy, how good a particular state is with respect to a standard state under this particular policy. So based on that, we try to evaluate the state value function and action value function. Right. So as I told you that this may be used earlier in the games. Right. So this is a card pool balancing. So we need to try to identify the GSAR in it. This G means the goal, S means state, A is the action, and R is the reward. If you want to implement reinforcement learning in your problem, your area, the most challenging part is how you identify the GSAR for your problem. And believe me, if you want to really work in reinforcement learning, it will definitely take your 6 to 1 year to identify this GSAR specifically. Because our whole reinforcement learning and deep reinforcement learning works on the GSAR primarily. The other example of the reinforcement learning in today's real world is that grasping the objects with the robotic arm. This is a very challenging and tedious work because you need to apply a specific amount of force uh, on the blocks, right? So again, we need to identify the goal, state, action, and reward. So to solve this, we have the different approaches: dynamic programming, Monte Carlo method, temporal difference learning. In that, Q learning is the very popular reinforcement learning. We have the model-based, value-based, and policy-based approaches as well. So in the dynamic programming, we have to or we need to know the complete and accurate model of the environment. And based on that, we decide a policy and we go with the policy evaluation and policy improvement. And accordingly, we improve the weights. And with the iterations, we try to formulate a generalized policy iteration. At the end, we reach to a point where there is no more change in the policy and the reward. So we can follow that. But in real time, we don't have the full environment in advance. So we learn through the practice. Let's say if I want to be an expert in the game of tic-tac-toe, in the starting it may be possible I don't know how to play. So I learn the rules and then I play with my friend, right, who is expert in that. So with every game, after every game, I experience some knowledge. So after every game means it's in technical term is known as one episode. So the experience is divided into the episodes. So in Monte Carlo method, only after completing one episode, value estimation and policies are changed. For a particular episode, our value estimation and policy are fixed. And the advantage of Monte Carlo is that we don't need a complete knowledge of environment, so we don't require a model as such. But it is not suitable for step-by-step incremental computation, you can say. The computation of the value function is same as in case of the DP. We go with the state value function, action value function, and generalized policy iteration. It has certain advantage that it can learn from interaction with the environment. There is no need of the full model, no need to know about all the possible states, and there is no bootstrapping as well. The third type of the method in reinforcement learning is very popular nowadays. It is the temporal difference. It is the combination of both the previous methods. It estimates the value based on the estimated value of the next state like DP, and like the Monte Carlo, it can learn directly from interaction with the environment. So there is no need of full environment. So it try to update its value state based on this Monte Carlo method, and based on the previous target value, it try to update its value. This is the taxonomy of the reinforcement learning, and this today we will mainly focus on the Q learning and the deep Q learning in it. So this Q learning is example of an offline policy, where it learn using the Bellman-Ford equation, where the new updates is the combination of the old state plus some changes by uh, by taking a particular action. So based on the rewards and some discount factor into the error. So in Q learning, what we try to do, we try to fill this matrix. With every iteration, we try to fill all the possible actions and state pairs, and it after every episode, we try to update this. Okay. The another type of the TD control learning is the SASA learning. It is on policy. The difference between the off policy and on policy is that in case of off policy, there is no policy as such, right? You may take any action randomly, while in case of SASA, we have to fix a particular policy in the starting. Let's say greedy one or epsilon greedy or soft. So this TD is a better option than the previous one because you can learn before knowledge, knowing the final outcome. You can learn without the final outcome. So let's take an example quickly. So we try to help a bot who try to find a path. So this is my arena, and I need to select a path such that my bot automatically move from one of the room to the outside of this house. So my how to formulate a problem. So first thing, as I told you, that I need to formulate it into some mathematical form or some way so that I can convert into the computer's language understanding. So the way of converting this uh, environment or this problem is modeling the environment. So what we can do, we can convert these rooms into the graphs, and where each room can act as a node and each link can act as an edge, and the goal is to move out of the house or to reach to the F. Because my system, they are good with the matrix, so I can convert this graph now into a matrix. So as I told you, we need to identify that what should be my goal, what should be my state, action, and reward in it. So randomly I have given the reward from 0 to 100. If you want to give reward from 0 to 1000, 5 to 600, no issue in that. But it should follow the rule of the reinforcement learning. Right. So this is my based on the current uh, problem modeling. I have developed a matrix known as the reward matrix. So you can say if A is not directly connected to F, so in this case the reward is infinite. Infinite means not directly connected. A is connected to E, so I am giving that as a 0 for the initial case. And if from that node I am able to reach to the goal, then I can say that it is the final goal. So I reward it as 100. Again, you may uh, give any reward, any values over here, because after different iteration, it will update. So what we try to do, we try to make a Q matrix over here. This Q matrix will be the brain of the agent. Initially, because there is no knowledge, so this Q will be the matrix. For example, over here, we have the 6 state and 6 possible actions. So this matrix is of size 6 by 6. Then based on the Q learning, we try to learn. So let's say I have fixed my learning parameters similar to what we have the learning parameter in the neural network as well. So based on this Q, we select our action randomly, right? So this maybe the randomness is there. So greedy policy is there or exploration is there. So let's say we select this B, then from B we have two options, B and F. So from B and F, now let's say we consider F. Then from F, now we have three possible actions again, B, E, and F. Right. So according to this, we can update our matrix now. So now earlier this Q table, this was 0. My experience from moving B to F, because over here I experience from moving state B to F, and the value that I gather is 100. Right. So because this is the final goal, so my one episode is over here. Then again in the episode 2, I repeat this step. Again I select a random state B, then B to B, C or E. Then let's say I select B, then from B again I can move to D on F, and let's say from B I move to F. So in this way, I again update my weight. So now you can see from B to F, I have updated the weight. From D to B, I have updated the weight as I T. So after every iteration, we try to update this weight. And after a lot of thousands, or let's say 1 lakh, 10,000 iterations or episodes, my matrix may converge, right? Something like this. So in the end, we may take the normalization of this learning matrix, and this is my final experience matrix. Now, by looking at this matrix table, I can directly tell the path, whatever is my current position, right? So if the bot is, let's say, at C, then it may choose CDBF path, or it may choose CDEF, because in this case both the rewards are same. So this Q learning help us to identify or to solve this such type of the problem. But in real time, in the game of this breakout game, let's say if I am considering the screen as 84 by 84 resized image, and I'm considering the past 4 images, and each image is of grayscale of 256 gray level. So you can say that how you can calculate 256 by power of 84 into 84 into 4, such a large amount of rows in the Q table, and the result of this is much greater than the total number of the atoms in the universe. So we cannot apply this Q learning as such over here. So we can take the help of the deep learning methods for the representation, because it's all about the representation. If the representation is simple, it is easy to understand, it is easy to code, it is easy to work with, right? So based on this deep learning concept over here, we have introduced the deep Q learning, where based on the state and action, my network identified certain Q values, Q1 value, Q2 value, and Q3 value, optimal value for each state. So if we apply that on the Atari game, then by simple deep learning method or convolution neural network, where I am having the 3 convolution layers and 2 fully connected layer, uh, I am able to solve this Atari problem. The another advancement in the deep reinforcement learning is the double Q network. So over here, instead of single queue, we are using 2 queues. One queue is a queue matrix, act as your target, and another act as your prediction value. So based on the difference between them, we can calculate the error, and we try to reduce this error. Right, as I told you, this deep reinforcement learning come into the picture because of this AlphaGo. So in AlphaGo, we have uh, more than 2 billion into 10 raised to power 170 possible states. So for a human being, it's not possible to even go to 10th or 100 steps ahead. But our system, this deep learning, reinforcement learning based system, AlphaGo, learn uh, this model, and it won in the case. So this deep learning was acquired somewhere in 1914 by the Google, and it made headlines in 2016 after its AlphaGo program beats a human professional Go player league. And the general version of this is the AlphaZero, which beats the most powerful program playing Go, chess, or the Japanese game, Shogi, right? So you can see the learning of the agent in the using the deep reinforcement learning. AlphaGo in the 0 day was not aware. Then after 3 day, it was able to beat the best human player. Then after 40 or 21 days, it was able to beat the 60 top professional online and world champion in 2017. And after 40 days, this AlphaGo master, uh, it become the best player of Go in the world. Right. So this is the power of the reinforcement, deep reinforcement learning. So so far, this deep mind has yet to find any large scale commercial applications because it is restricted to the games only. So what we try to do, we try to mimic this learning from the game environment to the real time industry environment. So the people are working on it nowadays. Earlier, there was no involvement of the deep learning in these experiments or these applications, but using the deep reinforcement learning now, slowly it's changing the way of control the dynamics as well. Now we are using the deep reinforcement learning for the auto less automated driverless car. We are using it for the object detection, even in the images. We are using it for identifying the human pose nowadays. So I'm currently working on this, how to use the deep learning for the human pose estimation. It not only restricted to the images, but it has also various applications in the call center or recently in the finance market as well. Even the Coursera, they have a course nowadays on reinforcement learning in the finance. Right? If I talk specifically with respect to the electrical engineering field, then deep learning is also being used nowadays in the electricity market. It is being used for the hybrid electrical buses based charging systems, right? Or planning of the efficient charging planning based on the deep reinforcement learning for the electrical vehicles. So there are a lot of scopes, we can say, where we can improve the reinforcement learning. So as I discussed in the starting, that still these two challenges are there in the reinforcement learning. One is how to make our bot learn in a simulated environment, how to generate or how to develop that simulation precisely to the real world. And if I have developed such a simulation, then how to improve that the transfer learning from that simulation model to the real world. If I have made my bot intelligent, or I have learned, or my intelligent bot learned how to take a step in a given environment or how to find a path in a given environment at earth, then we need to see how it works on the Mars, right? So we have to improve these two options, two challenges. We have to improve the simulation methods, we have to improve the observation methods. Right. So the one way for that is we need to uh, perform this simulation for one particular environment, and then we can create that environment 1,000 times or lakh times so that my system learn itself. Right. So the AlphaGo that I was talking about, after beating the human, it was left for learning by playing itself for 40 days. So by doing so, what we did, we tried to simulate the environment so that it can learn from itself, right? And it can use it for some real-time problems. So the takeaway of this session is that uh, you can use the deep learning for the various applications, because the hard part in that is the huge amount of the representation data. If I am unable to tell that how actually I'm taking the decision in it. In case of the reinforcement learning, the fun part is that we can learn the different algorithms by applying it on the different applications. And the hard part, as I told in the beginning as well, that you need to identify what will be my space, what will be my action, what will be my goal, what will be my reward. So with the help of the literature, with the help of the interaction with the experts of a particular field, we try to identify or we try to identify that how we can apply these machine learning techniques or these reinforcement learning techniques on the real time problems, right? So if you want to work in the reinforcement learning, first you need to have some basics of the deep reinforcement learning, then the reinforcement learning, and nowadays the Python play an important role in the reinforcement learning as well. It have a open AI gym simulation or open AI gym framework. With the help of that, you can develop the lot of reinforcement learning based environment, right? So the best way is learn by doing, but this is how we learn, trial through the trial and error. Of course, by doing so, you may encounter with the lot of problems, lot of errors, but at the end we will learn, right? So the takeaway of this is that you can use this deep reinforcement learning for your problems also. You need to identify your problem, you need to try to formulate or convert your problem in such a way so that you can apply the building block of the reinforcement learning on it, right? You may visit my website and you may download the Python simulation for the hands-on session that I have discussed just now. So with this, I end my presentation. If you have any queries, I am open to the questions now. Hello.
Thank you so much, sir, for this presentation. For QA session, please type your question on the chat box.
How efficient is Monte Carlo simulation in reinforcement learning? Monte Carlo simulation may be used for the environment where we are unaware of the full environment. So this Monte Carlo simulation is a part of our Q learning only. So we can say it is very efficient in identifying the reinforcement learning. Another question is for exploration and exploitation, shall we go with the meta heuristic algorithm? Yes, you may explore that as well. But in the starting, the researcher was they do when I am not having any experience. So at that time, whatever the policy I may consider, it doesn't affect that much, right? So initially, we go by the what you call exploration, means whatever come in your mind, you try with that particular action, and later on, uh, of course, as you suggested, with the help of the meta heuristic algorithm, we try to identify the best possible policy. This deep learning is actually doing this only. So if you want to explore the meta heuristic algorithm for that, it's a open research area. you may do so. Another question is how many minimum number of images is required for deep learning in image processing problem. Uh, this question is not directly related to over here, but we are aware that deep learning is generally used when we have a good set of the data set with us, at least 20,000 images as per the different literature. Um, Another is Monte Carlo shows dependency problem as it is completely random. How to measure learning is independent. Shinu, can you elaborate this question more so that I can suggest? Okay, and let me take another question. In AlphaGo, what is the input? What was it image? No, it's not the image. Uh, can you, but for the game, for the beat go, it was considering as the image. Can you explain how we calibrate the board camera for Go chess, etc.? If possible, can you also explain the GSAR for the AlphaGo playing Go? I will suggest that there is, if you want to more know on this Go, AlphaGo, there is a documentary by the Google. In that they have mentioned how this AlphaGo actually overcome or this or how it will win or in that particular game. That will give you a lot of insight in it. Uh, in a smaller way or in a brief way, I can say that the Go or any game, what we need to identify, we need to identify the states. We need to identify the rewards. If we have these values with us, then we can apply the reinforcement learning on any type of the problem. Yes. Uh, Another question from the Bharat is how can we learn the policy for walking of the robot? Since training of the deep reinforcement learning is computationally expensive, yes. Is it possible to learn the policy in real time since the hardware limitation on real system? Yes, that's why Bharat, I discussed that these are the two challenges. One is the transfer learning, another is the simulation. So instead of actually testing it on a hardware, what we can do, there are a lot of simulations nowadays that are available for the reinforcement learning for specifically your case for the walking. So you can model, you can design your reinforcement learning agent over there, and based on that simulation, you can learn your system in the different episodes. And when once it stabilizes over there in the simulation, then you can transfer that learning to your hardware. In this way, it will be helpful to you as well because it will reduce your hardware constraint. Okay, Monte Carlo is a random generation process. It can come back to the same state. How to avoid same state in learning process? I will say that by looking at the table, let's say if I am talking about the Q learning, then if I revert to the same state, then in that case, I will not be able to update the weights now. So after certain iterations, I realized that this state is of not that use. So you may go, you may use you may change the policy. If you are using the greedy policy, then you will not end up with the same state again. Yes, any other question? Hello.
I think we are done now
Okay.
with the queries. Okay. On the behalf of TechTip3 and IEEE student branch, I would like to thank Dr. Chandra Prakash for his valuable time and an insightful presentation. I would like to thank all participants also. If you have any query, you can send us mail or can directly talk to the speaker. His email ID is given in the poster I have shared. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra Prakash.
Thank you for the invitation, sir. It was a pleasure to interact
Most welcome.
with the young minds, sir.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we can end this session now.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.